I'm sorry. I'm doing not another take. I'm just continuing what I was talking about because somehow my microphone got unplugged. And I was moving it all around. And hang on, let's try this. Let me move the plushes out of the way. Yeah, we got plushes in this apartment now. Because I got a girl coming over all the time. And she's hot. So she gets all the plushes she wants. But back to the book, which I know is what you guys want to hear about. Hang on. No, I was talking about how Brandon Sanderson always has this thing he says. And he says that the first question, if someone says basketball is their hobby, right? This is something Brandon Sanderson says. He's like the best author in the world right now or something because he does fantasy. Like, I could not do fantasy better than Brandon Sanderson. I probably couldn't, but something in my mind tells me that I could because I did a lot of D&D, and I don't like that I have that confidence. I don't really like that. So, but anyways, he says that if someone says basketball is their hobby, you don't immediately ask if they're in the NBA. Because obviously, they're probably not. But, the big but here is, if I say my hobby is writing, the first thing y'all motherfuckers are gonna ask is if I'm published. And that's just, it's kind of not fair. It's really hard to get published, man. I've been trying to write this story for I don't know how long, and life keeps on getting in the way. I keep on getting drunk like this, and then I don't want to write, and then I got work because I don't want just my book can't pay the bills. It's probably not going to be good enough, but it's good enough, and I love it enough to where I'm going to keep on working at it, even if it takes me 30 years to do the first one of my 12 book planned saga that I'm gonna do. If I went on unemployment, because oh my gosh, this is a little embarrassing, alright? But I just learned how unemployment checks from the government work earlier, like, today, or I guess technically yesterday, because it's like 3 in the fucking morning right now. Maybe I'll go on unemployment in only the month of November. Because that might be really shaky for me coming up here. That will be what I do. Because I'd only be unemployed for 1 month, right? That would be all I would do. All I would do is I would sit down and I'd write it and I'd crank it out. Because I know if I have just a full day, even if I gotta do some chores, even if I gotta do some workout, because I always be working out. I'm the literature dropout. No, I would just write and write and write, and I'd get it done. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe that is what I do. Maybe I just get it done and out of the way. Because I remember one day, I was so fired up and so on about it. I think I got 10,000 words in a single day. That is unheard of for most authors. I don't know if anyone else has gotten and this is in the writing space. I did 10,000 words in one day. Granted, it was a first draft, and I had to really fight and kind of go after it there. It was one of those random days where I think I worked at Potbelly at 4 o'clock, and I ended up waking up at 5. But I felt fully rested, so I just went up and at it. Had coffee at 9, so that was 4 hours. Caffeine picked me up. Writing for another 4 hours. Then I was just kind of procrastinating, scrolling. So that was a solid 8. In the solid 8 hours of writing, I got out 10,000 words. That's more than 1,000 words per hour, which means that theoretically, even by some professional author standard, I am able to put out a word output. Hang on. Ow. The more I'm talking about it, the better of an idea this sounds. Because then what if I sell it? What if I publish it? I've got another job kind of lined up. It's an interview, but it's going to be for private lessons. So, fuck. I put on a whole cowboy thing in the background because I thought that would be fit. I thought that would fit the theme of this whole thing. But I just completely stopped talking about the book. I gotta get back to the... Hang on. A Bud Light dripping from my neck. Alright. Hang on. This has got nothing in it. I've just been using it as a prop because I feel like I'm reading from something. You know what? Maybe I don't need it. I don't need it. I already exposed myself. I don't need to pretend anymore. So, because this book is probably never going to get published, or, to be completely honest, it might be pipe. It might never get written. Life might just keep on getting in the way, and then I don't spend enough time on it. But so the whole thing, it's actually, I really do think it's cool. I think it's really cool how the power system, how the magic system. Sometimes I call magic systems power systems. You'll get used to that if I keep on doing these super drunk ramblings at 3 o'clock in the wee morning, because my job has me getting off at fucking 2 a.m. sometimes. Like, it sucks. But you know what we do for money, what we do to what we do to live, you know. And I am quite happy with it. I have a 3-day weekends. I kind of get 40 hours in because I stay late. I get roughly like 36 to 40 hours in, which is really good. Okay. Here's how I think I can best explain the plot of the story, and I kind of want that notebook I just had to write in. Oh, there it is. Okay, so, so we have Fraser the cowboy, and his power is quite simply super strength. I have a whole scene planned where this ability levels up, and he can do sort of whatever he wants. Not in like a reality warping sense, but just in the sense that he controls a certain amount of, not microscopic, but small stars that he can turn into blades or platforms or whatever. So he creates force fields later, but that's a secret between us if you made it this far in the video. And he's paired with a guy that, for the longest time in the writing process, he was named Jean, and his power was to go invisible if his heart rate was low enough. I decided that was and slowly, just like over time, it shifted. And this entire story in my head and the entire grand plan had just like shifted a bit. So now his name is Charlie. I'll write that down for y'all. His name is Charlie, and his whole thing is that he is in love with Fraser's daughter, Mary. And that causes a little bit of like contention there, because at first he's like, I don't want you dating my daughter. That's my daughter, you know? He's got like the classic dad protection thing going on. But very quickly he realizes, oh, Charlie can actually be competent with his power, with his candle that is named Diamond Dove, because it's a dove made of diamonds. I don't need to be creative all the time when coming up with names. Like, if you're a writer out there, do not feel the need to come up with a creative, super deep and important name every time something comes up. Do not feel the need, because sometimes you just gotta give up. It's a dove made a diamond. It's called Diamond Dove, right? You know, it's not. You just gotta give it up. All right. The superhero is the color blue, and he's kind of got a beetle thing going on. Called Blue Beetle. Green Lantern, called Green Lantern. Batman, Superman. Sometimes you can just give up. All right. It's called what it is, and sometimes that ends up being the most iconic. Just like I said, Superman, Batman. But anyways, it's called Diamond Dove. And it's just an invincible dove that moves really quick. So sometimes he can have it like deflect gunfire. Sometimes he can have it deflect like attacks. Sometimes it just moves so quick that it can just tie a rope around the doorknob before someone can actually like break through. And it attaches something like it does. In my writing of it, in my outline, it does some pretty crazy shit. I haven't gotten done with the first draft. I haven't gotten done with half the first draft yet, and I wanted it to be done by 2026, which I still have time. If I really want to send this thing, because in my heart of hearts, I know it's probably going to be around 120 words for a novel. Which, if you're wondering out there, I know I have a lot of people that aren't super in the writer space and just know me for being me. Like people I met in real life. A novel is classified as a piece of writing work that goes over 50,000 words. And on average, like a super cheesy romance novel you'll pick up, that's around 80,000 words. And so when you get to 120,000 words, that's where you get to some of the longer pieces. I think it was something like 120,000 words is roughly like 8 hours of listening. No, wait. I don't think that's true. It's probably somewhere between 5 to 6 actually, because I think Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky is. Well, maybe that's 18 hours. Maybe it's not 8 hours. Maybe it's 18 hours. But again, that's total bullshit, because when that was initially released, it was not released as one book. It was actually released in independent magazine articles. Funny enough, in very large quantities. Which actually, if I read that book, I want to somehow set up some kind of like weird coding system or something, where I get one magazine section at a time, and I do a little bit of research into seeing what that is. But because I think that would be very interesting to read it as it was coming out way back when, and I think it was 18. I think it was the 18th century. Maybe it was the 19th century, but I'm pretty positive it was the 18th century. Definitely not 17th. That's right. I was talking about my book. I know I mentioned the flame. I kind of talked about how the candle system worked. I think I'm a bit too drunk to fully explain it. And I don't want to fully explain it. Some of this is going to be present in the second book. And, okay, hang on. You know what? I do have enough time to explain. Wait, I haven't even told everybody that's on the, well, like kind of like the 3 main characters, I guess. So, okay. I said Charlie's power. I said Fraser's candle ability. And I wouldn't be doing you a service if I didn't. Honestly, I'm not even sold on this character's name. It might be one of those last minute Control Shift F find and replace things is, but I'll just call it character. I don't know. I'll call him by my plan name. His plan's name was Abe. Like he had a real funky power. As the thing goes on, the powers get funkier and funkier and funkier. Like they only get more bizarre. Again, kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but this thing is gonna be a bit more Marvel ish. It's like a perfect mix of Marvel, kind of anime, kind of classic literature. It's a whole weird mixture of things. Some of these books are going to be drastically different than the others, and y'all are going to have to be okay with that. Because it all is like connected, it all is like telling one story. So y'all just gonna have to get. But anyways, Abe's power. His power is that um if he can manage to get a bit of his blood onto another person, he can kind of read a glimpse into their brain. It's not full like Charles Xavier, like he can control what they do. It's not completely like crazy like that. But he can know the general emotions you're feeling. He can know the general he can like read your name above your head. He can basically search any surface level thought or feeling or fact about yourself that exists. And that's what his ability is. This was very originally, when coming up with this story, this was the main ability of the main character. But as I went on writing it, again, it changed. I've been writing this thing for like over 6 years. I want to say 6 is when I had the very first concept or inception of doing a Western. And it's kind of been this thing just changed and changed and changed and changed. And now it's finally at a place where I think this could actually be the shit. This could be something that actually people want to care about. This could actually be something that people want to continue. So that's why I put so much like sequels on it, because the sequels are not Westerns. The sequels kind of change genre every single time. But the really cool thing about again, it's kind of like JoJo. It changes, genre on a fucking dime from book to book to book. But the really cool thing about it is that it is still in the same world. So because it's in the same world, you see the same like side characters like repeating. Like maybe the main character, sure, you might not mess with, but maybe you see this character from this other book you really like. They're back in it too, and now they're changing the game. They have a completely different kind of story, and take it in a new direction, until all of a sudden, I'm planning a 12-book thing because 12 is a very biblical number, and then book 7, which is also a biblical number, changes the entire fucking game. That's the idea. Is that book 7 introduces one single character. It introduces one single character at the very end. It becomes very clear that everything beforehand, not like wasn't needed, but everything beforehand, where they said, like, oh, this is the prophecy. No, this is the prophecy. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be sick. I think I need a Patreon to release this because, I don't know if I'm gonna get traditionally published. If I do get traditionally published, that's gonna be really cool. I'm really happy with that. And I'm gonna query the fuck out of whatever I do. Okay. I ran out of stuff to say. Well, I could go into so much more detail, but everything I've said here, I'm very satisfied with. One of my favorite things to do, and I know what I'm about to say here, is probably going to get changed. I'm probably going to get to the point in actually writing this where I'll say something like, oh, we got to slow down, or we got to really speed up. I'm either going to say either one. Because 12 books is a lot of books, especially for a guy that hasn't finished a single one right now. But I know that if I pulled it off, I would fucking pull it off. Like, it's one of those things, it's like gambling $1 billion on a roulette wheel, you know? You win big, you only win big. If you try and you just fail, you just fucking fail. So, you know what? I'm gonna break it down right now. So it kind of starts in the 1860s, 1863 to be precise. That date is stated to change a little bit. It starts roughly with the Wild West, but particularly the California Gold Rush. I actually have. Hang on a second. I actually have this entire book on the California Gold Rush that I've kind of been reading. Turns out the whole fucking California Gold Rush was started by like a woman that was bad at cooking. Can you believe it? Crazy. Anyways, so that's the Wild West. And then it goes into kind of like a 1907. It goes into what I call a deep woods genre. The inspiration for this second one is I've been following this YouTube channel called Lazy Masquerade for years and years and years. And what he does is he narrates scary stories. And when I followed him, he was narrating a lot of like mythological creatures that were seen in real life, super true stories, and they scared the crap out of me. So the first one was the Wild West. The second one is like a bit of a horror, deep in the woods, missing 411 kind of deal. There's some warlock stuff, but again, like what I said, it is 100% connected to the first one still. And then, after 1907, what's going to come quickly after that? The Roaring 20s. It's going to be like 1920. I think like 26 is going to be good enough. Man, like 1926. It's a Roaring 20s. This one is a detective, like, drama. It's got some crazy stuff in it. It's going to be awesome. And the main character in this one is a cop and a detective. And you meet him when he's a kid in the second book. So, like, that's really cool. And it's going to be a really cool moment where it just says, like, the detective does this. And at the end of chapter 1, he's going to say his name. And then it's going to be, like, a whole moment, you know? It's going to be really sick. Oh, my gosh. Then we're going to have... obviously, after this is going to come some sort of World War II story. I go through a lot of, like, American history here. I'm a huge fan of American history. So, like, I'm kind of running through this. And that book is going to be about... The first 3 are very connected. It's, like, very clearly one family. The next 3, we're going to take a little bit of a break. Honestly. We're going to be jumping around to other parts of the world that aren't America. A little bit. One of them's another dimension. But one of them's just like kind of like a weird version of Australia with like all the world's worst like weird, not the world's worst, but the world's weirdest prisoners. You'll see what happens when it happens. Then after that, there's going to be a why can't I think of it? No. The World War II one. World War II, another dimension, Australia. Yeah, no, that's another three. And then the next section of three is this kid that's going through high school a little bit. No. He goes through high school. It's kind of his 3 years there. And then that kid, I'm not going to say anything right now, but he might be a little important later. And then the last three is the last three books is a revolution against the system that has secretly been the bad guy, secretly been pulling the strings ever since book one. There's going to be a really cool reveal. Everyone's going to love it, and then I'm going to make a bajillion dollars off of book sales. And then they're going to want to make it into TV shows, so I'll make a bajillion dollars off of that. And that's how I become filthy stinking rich, because I go on unemployment for a little bit, and I figure out the first one. But yeah, but that's the plan. And listen, I know there are writers out there that might be looking at this and they might be saying, "Listen, you probably don't have enough content outlined for 12 books. A 12-book series is not something you can plan on. You got to make sure every story has its own closer before you can just bank on it." But that's where I say, that's where the beauty is in it. Because besides, like, all the first six, they can be their own stories. I can have different people publish them. And they can still be connected. Like, it's kind of going to be like Five Nights at Freddy's, where, like, only, like, the tenuous, like, string connection, like, will connect them. And who's going to stop me? You think the editor that is reading through my maybe like 180 page book is going to notice the one line that connects things? No, it's going to be hidden. I'm too smart for them. I need to go to bed. It's 4:11 in the morning. I'm going to swallow some more cornflakes, watch probably Charlie Slimesicle or Chuckle Sandwich do something really funny on a podcast, and then I'm probably going to go straight the fuck to bed because I got a wedding tomorrow that I got to go to. And I'm probably going to be hungover as shit, and it's like 2 hours away. But honestly, fuck it. We ball. So I'm uploading this now. See ya, cocksuckers.